Hello everyone and welcome to the Next IT and Cisco Cloud Defense webinar. My name is Lindsay Griffith and today we're going to be deep diving into the cloud mailbox. Now, while it's true that every email provider offers some degree of protection, email isn't as secure as you might think, and native security can't be fully relied on to mitigate every threat out there. So while Microsoft 365 offers some basic level of security, it's usually not enough for organizations in 2021, particularly when it comes to ransomware and phishing. So to secure your organization's mailboxes, you will need additional layers of protection, which is why we're talking about the cloud. So let's go ahead and get started.
Hello and welcome. My name is Christian Clausen. I'm a technical marketing engineer for content security here at Cisco, and I'm here to talk about cloud mailbox defense. Let's get started. The move to cloud for email has been well underway for years now. We know that the attraction of a more user-friendly experience and the lower operational expense is driving businesses of every size and niche to SaaS email providers. Microsoft is by far the leader in this space, with over half of the market. It's well understood that most attacks begin with an email. According to reports like the annual Verizon Data Breach Report, that number is nearly 90%. Email continues to be not only the most effective way to gain a foothold in a business network, but potentially both the beginning and the end of a successful compromise. It's the primary vector for malware infection because it puts malicious payloads in front of the user with minimal effort and only one click away from exploitation. Beyond just delivering malware, attackers are more sophisticated than ever at crafting social engineering attacks and generating phishing links that look exactly like the services that they impersonate. We know that the weakest link in the security chain is usually the human element, and what better way to exploit that than through email, which every member of your organization reads every day. Business email compromise passed ransomware in cyber insurance claims and is currently the most lucrative way for criminals to attack an organization. The average transaction amount during BEC is $125,000. Between 2017 and 2018, the number of BEC attacks doubled, but the amount stolen tripled. According to the FBI, monthly losses were estimated at $1.2 billion. The Treasury Department's estimates are much higher, nearly $3.6 billion. Simply relying on the built-in security controls of your email provider is not enough to mitigate these threats. Multiple layers of security engines are required to identify all the potentially destructive elements of an email. We believe that email will continue to be the number one threat vector as long as it is in use in all organizations around the world. When we look at the phishing attacks, Microsoft's properties are generally in the top 3 most targeted brands, and that's because of their huge market share. Protecting any software or infrastructure from attackers is always an arms race. Offensive tools and malware are only just as sophisticated as they need to be in order to work. Because of their success in the marketplace and their huge market share, Microsoft's email offering is by far the most targeted. Attackers know that if they put their resources into evading Microsoft's built-in security protections, Exchange Online Protection, then this scales very, very well. Instead of targeting individual company defenses, they can ensure that their techniques are reusable across hundreds or thousands of targets. Malware creators are working under the assumption that Microsoft's Exchange Online Protection is in place, and they're becoming better and better at circumventing it. This problem has driven the creation of a new market with incredible potential. Gartner coined the term Cloud Email Supplemental Security to describe a new approach to email security that emphasizes direct integration with the APIs of cloud email providers. There's been nearly $300 million in funding towards startups who use this new model. But Cisco will be the first top-tier security vendor to enter this space. And with our first-in-the-industry threat research firm Talos, we are perfectly positioned to lead the way in this market. The bottom line is that the story of an email attack doesn't stop at the perimeter. And secure email gateway solutions should be augmented by leveraging the new tools that we have available from the cloud providers. Security operations teams have long used PowerShell to automate their detection, investigation, and remediation processes. But that can be slow, often taking hours to action a message across a large mailbox deployment. Microsoft's investment in cloud has opened new avenues for automation in the form of native APIs like Graph. Organizations are already taking advantage of this and are shifting focus to these faster and more powerful tools. What we're doing is integrating our incredible threat intelligence and our wider security portfolio with these tools to bring to market a brand new email security product. We have all of the protections that you would expect from a fully formed email security product. We examine every component of the message. The attachment hash can be checked against our advanced malware protection cloud, and the file itself can be uploaded to ThreatGrid and run in a sandbox to be checked against over 1,400 behavioral indicators to spot unknown malware. We check the sender reputation, and we make sure that we're blocking known malicious senders and known spammers. Embedded links are evaluated for category and reputation, and we're building in cloud URL analysis from Talos. The content of the message is analyzed by multiple engines, leveraging machine learning and artificial intelligence algorithms to identify phishing and business email compromise. And of course, we're blocking spam. All of these checks are run against every message, even those that are sent between internal users, so that we can detect insider threats, lateral movement, and malware propagation. So Cloud Mailbox Defense represents a cloud-native email security platform that focuses on visibility, simplicity, and integration. The simplicity part is by far the most important to us. We want to make sure that this product is differentiated in the market by how easy and quick it is to deploy, to configure, and to manage. We have existing email security products that are not going away. They're not being replaced by Cloud Mailbox Defense. Our offering Cloud Email Security and Email Security Appliance are both gateway devices. They sit at the perimeter and they block all incoming and outgoing threats to your email users. They are very feature-rich. They have a ton of options, mail flow policies, per user and per group policies, custom message filters and quarantines, etc. But there is a set of customers who need something much simpler. They're used to the cloud because it is easy. They want a pure SaaS offering that just plugs into Office, and they're willing to give up some of the advanced features that are available in CES in order to get that ease of use and simplicity. So we want to have an offering that works for them. We want something that can be deployed without changing how mail is delivered, something that can be configured in 5 minutes, and something that doesn't require specialized training to operate. The visibility piece means that we can see every single message, regardless of whether it traversed the edge. Even messages between internal users is scanned. This is really important because what we see with these advanced attacks is that malicious actors will compromise an account, they'll start digging through the sent folder, and they'll send malware or phishing along in an internal ongoing thread to other users to try to escalate the privileges. That type of behavior is extremely insidious and difficult to detect unless you're scanning internal mail. We give a nice, clean search and triage dashboard where users can click through for point-and-shoot remediation. They can see all of their mail and move them around at will in a batch or individually. And everything is built on top of open RESTful APIs that we'll have well documented so that the tool can be integrated with existing SecOps and incident response tooling. The integration piece is what makes us a platform. We want to make sure that Cloud Mailbox Defense is a way to connect Talos, AMP, ThreatGrid, SecureX, later Umbrella and Duo, all of the wider Cisco security portfolio directly into Microsoft's cloud. We're using those native APIs in order to leverage all of the benefits of our threat intelligence and our other products. So the components that are scanning the mail for Cloud Mailbox Defense actually live inside of Azure. Customers don't have to do anything about these components. They don't have to run anything in Azure. They don't have to have VMs or touch it at all. This is entirely handled by Cisco. The reason I bring it up is to say that our scanning engines are running co-located with the user's mailbox directly in Azure in the same geographical region. That means we can scan messages very, very quickly and take action against them before the messages show up in the user's inbox, even though we're not in line. We're not asking that the users change their MX records, the DNS records that designate their mail exchangers. That means that mail can be delivered to Microsoft as if there were nothing there. We scan all the messages natively in Azure, and then we send metadata to the customer's instance in our cloud, where we do all of our indexing and we host our triage dashboard and reporting. All file attachments can remain in Microsoft's cloud. DirectGrid is an optional configuration where you can upload certain attachments for sandboxing in the cloud if necessary. This is a standalone product, and it's designed to supplement built-in cloud protections. It's very different from a gateway appliance like Cloud Email Security. The differences are in the deployment and in how it's situated in the infrastructure. With Cloud Email Security, we ask that the customer change their MX record to reroute their mail to our data center, where it can be scanned. There, Cloud Email Security can apply the plethora of security features, the mail flow policies, quarantining, etc., and any messages that are not dropped or quarantined are delivered. In the case of Cloud Mailbox Defense, MX records are not changed. We don't ask that the customers reroute their mail at all. We receive a copy of every message that is sent or received. Doesn't matter if it's inbound, outbound, or internal only. We scan the message natively in Azure, and then we remediate using the Graph API. And we can do this generally within a second, so before the message is ever delivered to the user. The way that we receive mail is through journaling. Journaling was initially invented for legal archiving, for e-discovery, and that sort of thing. It creates a new copy of every message that's sent or received, encapsulates it in a new set of headers, and sends it to an external mailbox. In this case, the external mailbox is our mail intake system that we're running. We receive the message with all of the original headers intact, all of the body, the embedded URLs, the attachments. We even see Microsoft's own spam scoring and their allow list entries, because those are added to the headers as the message moves through Exchange Online protection. In this case, we are a true multi-cloud solution. We're running everything in either Azure or in our own data center. The customer doesn't have to host anything or touch those components at all. They simply send copies of messages to us. The metadata that we send over from Azure to our cloud includes the headers, the sender, recipient, subject, message ID, attachment hashes, URLs, and verdicts. All of this data is stored for 3 months, and that means customers can get reporting, they can search, and they can remediate all messages based on this data. What we're trying to accomplish with this is not only to provide a simple version of a cloud email security product to our users who want something that's cloud native, we also want to empower these organizations in how they do their security operations. We want to enrich how they do their IR investigations by giving them a tracking, conversation, and trajectory view of their email. And we want to supplement anyone who's running a secure email gateway by giving them internal scanning as well, fixing a blind spot in what is usually a perimeter security device. The POV should be very, very simple. We intend it to be up and running within 5 minutes and in 2 steps. There's no such thing as zero risk in our industry, but it's difficult to find a lower risk POV than this, because we're not rerouting the mail, and we're not even granting the application permissions to touch the mail or the mailboxes. During our audit-only deployment, what you'll see is that we give read-only permission to Cloud Mailbox Defense in your Microsoft tenant. And that way we still get a copy of the mail, we can scan everything, get all the verdicts, do all of the reporting and the indexing, but we can't go the extra step of actually touching the mail. So in this way, we can get in very quickly and show proof of value very, very quickly. But instead of just talking about it, I'd rather demo the product and show you exactly what it looks like. On your first login to Cloud Mailbox Defense, you'll be presented with a wizard to set up your instance and integrate with your Microsoft tenant. The wizard is composed of 2 steps. The first is to select the mode of the product. The difference between the 2 modes, Audit and Audit with Enforcement, is in the permission set that we request from your Microsoft tenant. With Audit mode, we only get read-only permissions from Microsoft. That means that we still scan every message, we still provide you the search and the reporting and all of the indexing, but we won't be able to go the extra step of remediating the messages. That is likely what you would choose for POV mode. In Audit with Enforcement, we get read-write permissions, so we can move and delete messages as well. After you choose the mode, you can click on Connect to Office 365. This will redirect you to Microsoft and ask for you to authenticate as your tenant administrator. Once you do that, you can approve the permissions that the Cloud Mailbox Defense application is requesting. Once the permissions are accepted, the integration is complete. Now all you need to do is set up a journal rule with the address of our mail intake system that we provide you at the end of the wizard. Here you will navigate to your Exchange Admin Center and Compliance Management and choose Journal Rules. You'll create a rule, give it a name, add the address that we provided you, and you can decide whether you want to send us mail from a specific user or group, or from all users, or specific types of messages, internal, external, or all. At that point, the deployment is complete. Back on the policy screen for Cloud Mailbox Defense, you can set up your automatic remediation policies. The first section shows the mode of the product. Here you can pivot between Audit mode and Audit with Enforcement. Changing this setting will prompt you to re-authenticate and change the permissions that the application has in your Microsoft tenant. The second option is Attachment Analysis. This is where you can decide what attachments you want to send up to ThreatGrid for cloud sandboxing. You can choose to only send incoming attachments, outgoing attachments, internal attachments, or all of them combined. Message Analysis allows you to choose what messages you want to analyze. This is especially helpful if you already have a secure email gateway at the edge and you don't want to double scan traffic. You could potentially choose to only scan internal messages. The Remediation Actions section allows you to choose what to do with each type of convicted message: malware, spam, or phishing. At GA, the options we'll have are move to trash and move to junk, but as we continue to build out the feature set of the product, we'll be adding more options. The automated remediation policy at the very bottom allows you to choose which domains in your tenant you would like this policy to apply to. The home page for Cloud Mailbox Defense is very simple. We wanted to make it easy to use, easy to understand, and fast to search through. You can see we have some statistics on the front about the total number of scanned messages and total convictions in the last 24 hours. We will be adding more statistics to the dashboard surrounding the different threats and how mailboxes are being attacked. In the search bar, you can enter a term to search across all of the fields that we have for a message, including the URL, subject, sender, recipient, file hash, etc. Searching there will take you to the search page. Here we can see all of the messages that we've been sending and receiving, whether they're internal, external, doesn't matter. If you've journaled them to our product, you'll be able to search and triage them here. We have a way to search across different time frames, 30 days, 7 days, or custom. And what you see in the search results are the directionality of the message, so whether it was outgoing, incoming, internal, or mixed, the receive date, the sender, recipient, subject, the verdict, whether there was an attachment or a URL inside the message itself, an action that might have been taken on it, and then a couple more options here on the right. The shield means that we action this message automatically by policy, and the check mark means that the message or the sender or the recipient was in an allow list in your Microsoft settings. So that way, if you've allowed something through explicitly in your Exchange settings, we can honor that as well. Expanding the message shows you additional headers and also the name and the file hash of the attachments and the URLs in the message. You'll have the option here to action the message, move it to trash, move it to junk, or move it back to the inbox. And when you do this, you have the ability to report it as a false negative or a false positive and reclassify it if necessary. So if this message were a false negative and you wanted to mark it phishing, you could do that, and that message would be moved and it would be reclassified in the search results as a phishing message. You can see the timeline of when a message came in, when it received a certain verdict, and whether a user actioned it. We'll also be showing the name of the user who actioned the message here. Another feature that I want to demonstrate here that is currently in its beta form is our trajectory and conversation view. What we want to do is be able to show an administrator or an operator exactly where a message came in, how a threat got through if it did, and exactly what the blast radius was for that attack. We want to see how many mailboxes were affected and basically a trajectory of how the message moved through the environment. We can do that by clicking on Conversation from the search. It will start out by grabbing the initial message and then one parent and one child generation. Here we only have a child generation because it's the first message. As we step through, we'll be able to see exactly what happened. Here we see that there was one recipient that was forwarded to, and then that subsequently was sent twice to 2 more recipients. Here, a phishing link was added. You can continue to walk through and see that it was forwarded again to 5 recipients. Here, the conversation broke off to 2 more, and we can see malware added here and phishing added here. So this should give you a nice graphical view of how something moved through your environment and give you a good idea of number 1, your patient 0 of a certain email threat, and number 2, the blast radius and who was affected. Thank you for joining me today. I hope this has been interesting and useful.